speech, which we're not going to talk about necessarily today, but I want to know, does anybody here have their elevator speech ready to roll right off their tongue? If you don't know what an elevator speech, then you don't have it prepared.
Yes.
Linda, so if I were to ask Linda on an elevator, and we were just going up a few flights, and she had a short amount of time, and I said, Linda, what do?
You want me to answer it?
Sure.
Hi, I'm the catering sales manager for Most Southwest Grill. Nice to meet you.
There you go. Short and sweet and to the point. So many times when people ask us a question, what do you do? We kind of fumble a little bit. So if someone were to ask me, what do you do? I help corporations become more productive by investing in their people. And then I'll expand on that in terms of the types of training that I do. But real short, real quick, that's it. However, many times we do have the luxury of more time to explain our services and what we do. So on this little purple sheet that I've passed around, you'll see there's 5 steps. This is a classic in sales. This is called the motivated sequence. And it was developed by Albert Monroe back in the 1930s, also known as the Monroe sequence. 5 different steps. It is a pattern. It is a formula. You say, Blaine, I don't do patterns. I don't do formulas. I got to keep it real, man. I'm right off the cuff. Well, I appreciate that, but the problem is you may forget a really important piece of information. So, if you're going on a sales call, or if you're in an interview and someone asks, how can you contribute to this company, you need to better understand what it is that, or you need to be able to better explain what it is that you do. So, we're going to go through the 5 steps here. Number 1 is get their attention. Number 2 is to establish a need. They might not even realize that they have a need for your services. Number 3 is to provide the solution for their need. But that's number 3, sorry. Number 4 is to ask them to imagine what it would look like having your services. So have they hired you as a real estate agent? Had they purchased a car from you? Had they gotten that new AC? What would the future look like? And then 5 is one that I'm going to spend a lot of time on. 5 is the call to action. Because that's where a lot of people really miss it. They may know exactly what to say, but when it comes to actually asking for the business, so hey, what do you think? That's not a call to action. Hey, what do you think is not a call to action, okay? This is going to be a little bit of audience participation here, and if you don't know anybody here already, that's okay because you're going to meet each other right quick. First thing that we're going to do, have into your own mind, what is it that you do? Let's say I'm a safety consultant. I may want to start with a startling fact, a statistic, or even some sort of a short story, an anecdote. Here's something that happened to me a long time ago. And if I'm calling on a warehouse owner or someone in a manufacturing plant, I may get their attention in this way. Every 7 seconds, someone in America is injured on the job. Every 7 seconds. And then I go into exactly what that means. So that's how I first get their attention. Because they're not going to listen to what benefit I can bring them if we don't get their attention first. So we can start off with a statistic. We can start off with a very short story. Or some sort of a startling fact they may not realize. Okay? Now, how many of you know a statistic that you definitely want to impart upon the people when you have a presentation to give? You know something right off the bat. Now, I can say in our business, when we're calling on first sell by owner as real estate agents, 70% of first sell by owners do not sell. But a lot of times we think, well, we want to bury the lead. No, that is the lead. That's where we want to start. Matt, we were talking about you do bookkeeping earlier.
Yep.
So, do you have an idea or any statistics?
I don't have an exact statistics, but I have something in mind, which is, what is it? There's a large number of small businesses that basically go under. and I don't know what that percentage is, but I'd have to look it up.
Okay, and that's fine. That's fine. You can do that. You can consider this
50% of all
homework.
small
You can take
businesses.
that.
Right?
How much is it?
I think it's 50%.
Wow.
Please.
Wow.
I think it's
Okay.
probably higher.
Yeah.
Because they don't have a real.
Because they don't keep track of their money, their numbers.
You don't know what they spend.
They don't have a true look at what is really going on, so you can help them out in that way. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take just about 45 seconds or a minute. You're going to pair up either with someone next to you or across the table, and you're just going to give that person 15, 20 seconds, some sort of startling statement, here's what happened to me, or a statistic, and then you're going to reverse it. So we'll just take about a minute for each of you to do that. So team up across the table. How would you get someone's attention if you sat down in their office and you were about to give them a presentation on your services? Go.
I don't have any starlings.
You already gave me mine. Oh, that's
Nothing else I would have on the mortgage banker.
Maybe a statistic for paying.
Yeah.
I have any statistics on the top of my head.
True story.
Outside it's required to get a loan, you need a bank, a mortgage banker, you need a loan, it's
You take the paint off.
What's the worst home inspection you've ever heard of or encountered? Oh. Okay.
So it'd have to do with the drive shoes.
Wow. See, now there's a point. So what you want to do, I'll tell you the worst case scenario. We did a home inspection on some place, there was meth, but people were still living there. And when we went down to the crawl space, there was 2 feet of standing water and dead animals. Thank God the people got a home inspection so they would understand. So see, now you really? Wow, tell me more about that. See, now I want to know. If you haven't already switch it up to the other person.
Made up on.
And we'll talk about it. Okay, good. All right, wonderful. So, who had a good startling statement or attention grabber of some sort? Audrey?
You know mine.
Oh, what is it?
I put the real in real estate.
There you go. I put the real in real estate. I love it. And we were just talking about home inspections here, and she was relating a story to me about the worst home inspection. I'll let you say it.
Well, so the worst home inspection one of our inspectors shared with me, at least that he shared with me, there might be others. But it was when he first started, he went into a crawl space that had like a foot of water in it, and there were tenants living in it, the investment property. At the time, so when he went in, there was a foot of water, the sewage had backed into it, and there was an ecosystem of animals eating animals within it. And
wow.
So it's a good thing that they had that home inspection so that they knew what was going on in that area, in that crawl space.
So just from hearing that story, okay, you've got my attention. I want to hear about this. And we're not talking about fear-mongering, okay? We're not talking about trying to scare people into our business. But to preface something like that, I would still tell that story. Let me give you a worst-case scenario. And you kind of preface that way. But when you hear these sorts of things, I was in a house where they had a chicken coop in the garage. Several chicken coops. I mean, it was a mess. I had to go to the warehouse. I had to go to the hardware store to buy a mask before I would go back into it again. So really bad stuff. But great, fantastic. All right, step number 2 is to establish a need. So, like I say, yes, there's an injury every 7 seconds, but so many people are now health conscious. In fact, that's why, and safety conscious, that's why unions really exist. That's how they came about in the first place. And we have OSHA laws, but many times some things fall between the cracks. And wherever you have safety issues, you're going to have low morale with your employees. So you establish a need, okay? Now, who has an idea of a need that they could establish that you provide for people? Yes, ma'am?
I deliver fresh, healthy food. You don't have to do a thing. That's a need. Anytime you're having a party.
There you go. And I also love the fact that you say many times that Moe's has no microwaves and no refrigerators.
Absolutely, very healthy.
Yeah, so again, it is healthy. People are health conscious. And if you hire Moe's for buffet catering, you can pick and choose exactly what it is that you want. So you've established that need. Now, step number 3 is to provide a solution. If I were a safety consultant, I would say, you can hire me to be your professional to help you not only avoid injuries, but all the fallout that comes from that. Liabilities of lawsuit, the loss of production, and the loss of morale for the other people who weren't directly affected. So it's not just someone gets hurt, but it's a huge impact on that individual, his or her team members, and the company as a whole. But I can help you overcome that. So, step number 3 is once you have established the need, then I have a solution, and I can bring it to you. Now, step number 4 is to create a vision of the future. So what would it be like? Can you imagine, I'm looking up here at this tote board, and you've gone 3 days without an accident on the floor. 3 days, that's not good. Can you imagine what it would be like if that's at 365? You go an entire year and there's no injuries on your shop floor or in your warehouse. What would morale be like then? And the owner would say, well, yeah, it'd be really high, you know. And what about retention? Would you be able to keep more people because there's no safety concern? We've eliminated it? Well, yeah, absolutely. So that's what step number 4 is, to get them to imagine what the future looks like. And I'll go back to the home inspection again, because that's readily apparent. What would you anticipate? Let's go the other way. What's a good story? Maybe that you overcame something, but what would the future look like if someone hired you for your services as a home inspector today?
They would be advised of the facts of their home, things that, I wouldn't say that, going into a home, and ideally we would want the home, us to not find anything, but what's the value of a home inspection is that you're going to be advised of the things that you might not readily see when you come into your home. So you're prepared when you're ready to close on that home. You know everything that home has to offer to you.
Yeah. So if you get a home inspection, whether you find $1,000 worth of repairs or nothing, and there's never nothing, but you don't find that much, it's all about peace of mind. You can have peace of mind the day you move in to this home. So it's peace of mind. And then the 5th thing is, what's the number 5? Call to action. A call to action. And how do we do that? So what do you think? No, that doesn't work. So, Matt, do you see any reason why we wouldn't want to go ahead and get started today? See how I phrased that? I didn't give him an opportunity to give the default answer, which is no. Because if he actually says no, he says what? Yes. Do you see any reason why we wouldn't want to go ahead and get started today? No, I don't see any reason. Fantastic. Or you can give 2 different options. Would you simply like an analysis, or would you like the service where I give you an analysis of any potential safety violations, and I'll come back through every month and monitor and make sure that everybody is being safe as they should. So 2 different options there. But you want to put your business forward, you definitely, absolutely want to ask for the business. Here's the thing. When it comes to a call to action, if it's not slick, if it's not smooth, that's okay. The point is, you're asking. You're asking for the business. So don't worry about the pressure of, how do I segue into this? Anything is like, do you want to hire me? Is a whole lot better than nothing. Well, why don't you look over everything and get back to me in 6 to 12 months and we'll see what happens. No, that's not a call to action. So even if it's not smooth, that's okay. Anytime you're asking for the business, I can't tell you how many business owners and homeowners will sit down with me and they'll say, Blaine, I didn't do business with this other person because they never asked. They never asked for the business. They gave me an analysis, they gave me their advice, they were pretty smart. Seemed like they had their stuff together, but they never asked for the business. So step number 5.